Welcome back, everybody, once again to the PCS Summer Split. We're on match point here as CTBC Flying Oyster finding themselves up 2-1 in this series that'll decide who goes to Worlds first of our two teams. But before we get into the pre-match discussion, I do want to once again extend a shout out to our wonderful sponsor, CTBC Bank. In addition to having an absolute banger of a team, they're also a fantastic sponsor. And China Airlines, no slouches as well. Thank you for joining us and making the PCS Summer Split possible. Now, Nightstar, as to be expected, we switch things up. Once again, Beyond Gaming going on blue side. So far, 100% win rate. Are we going to game 5?
It could. Very well could. And it's going to come down to what is the answer to this Draven. And I think the answer is we're first picking. So it's not like Wako isn't going to be one of those players that strays away from the Draven himself, right? He is very good mechanically in lane, and you have Wako Kino, probably two of the most bloodthirsty bot laners in our league as well. The most would probably be, of course, Shun and Koala. But this is, this is an opportunity to just take it to CFO.
I do like the full court press idea. It's worked well for both these teams when they found success. The forward percentage being very high for Beyond in their wins. Even if their laning phase isn't always the strongest, they find ways to get back into it and don't let the enemy team get into their own jungle, because that's what happened multiple times. I want to see Gemini denied some pressure. We'll have to see if that happens here as we are underway for what could be our final game tonight. Beyond Gaming ban the Draven themselves. There's your flex. Maybe we see the first pick Lucian coming up.
Lucian also taken off the table. So now
not anymore. Okay. That's Aaliyah.
Yes, it's going to be a Talia
has
pick.
Been the case.
And this time around, CFO will stray away from the Callista, which is what they initially took in game number 2. Or at least they should. As currently it is...
I think you're right.
Being hovered once more. And it actually gets locked in.
Oh, no, they take it. Okay, all right. So trusting their ability to do it. I am curious what changes this time around, because the Amumu is still up and available. Gemini can grab the Wukong as a takeaway from Husha yet again, and he does.
I think this should be Aphelios Renata to answer back, because you deny the Renata, and you also have the Aphelios who does have a bit of a soft counter matchup into the Callista. And because you already have the Talia, it also prevents the Callista from jumping all over you in these early team fights where Aphelios can suffer a bit.
It's true. Well, there's the Aphelios locked in. See if they fully pair the bottom lane up now before we get to ban phase 2. Looks like we're going to be getting a flexible pickup of the Sejuani.
Okay.
Husha did find success on it last time they were on blue side.
I do like it. And it also applies that ranged pick potential onto CFO, whereas in the previous game they were very committal in securing picks, right? If Vi ults, she is in it. If Sejuani ults, she doesn't have to commit to it. And Mission once again goes back towards this Victor pick, which we have seen, if he's left to his own devices, he will just truck you over. but once more, he has to play it into the Sejuani. So maybe we see the adaptation of him bringing out a cleanse or something to be a little bit more on the safe side.
Yeah, and now the focus switches to the support bands, right? So we've already seen the Amumu band out. We see the Leona as well. I wonder if CFO leave Nautilus and dare Beyond to ban it or take it themselves.
I think Beyond Gaming will ban the Renata in the second phase.
Oh, they banned Fiora out, actually.
Okay,
Focusing
CFO.
topside to take it away from Leakai.
And it also leaves the Renekton available here. That might also be the follow-up ban coming in from BYG. Only time will tell.
Give themselves options. This is
Still
a better
plenty of
draft than
time.
they had the last time Red side, though.
Yeah, and it does feel like it is a bit of a blue side difference when it comes to just what the options are left available. So now CFO, they're going to have pick power here, and maybe they're trying to lure BYG into
Oh.
Renata trap, but Nautilus currently being hovered.
Oh.
Should be the
Yeah, there we
lock-in.
go.
There we go. Okay.
That's what I'm talking about, Nightstar. You got a good old Pokeball. You just throw the Nautilus and you get picks yourself.
But this is a great opportunity to give me the Aphelios set. Do it, Kino. He is not a Janna player. Please.
Mortal Kombat would be epic. This feels like a bit of a troll hover. But
Okay.
the Alistar would absolutely be a big ball and engage.
I'm
And Kino
okay
has
with
shown it 3
that.
times already this split. Big tanky. Oh, and the Gwen lock in too. You know,
Okay.
Gwen's fallen through a lot of our drafts
Okay.
here and has fallen off in Prio, but everyone in the in the PCS can play it. And Gnar as well is kind of like a card carrying PCS top laner go-to.
Gwen, Gnar locked in to round out our drafts. This is quite a bit throwback picks here, mixed
Bit of
in
spring
with
split
the current
bleeding
meta.
through. So let's break it all down, Nightstar. So far, it's been blue side supremacy, but how do you like this draft coming out from CFO?
CFO, I think they have okay answers with the Wukong and the Gnar. The issue is, we saw with the Callista, didn't have a great time in game number 2. And maybe part of that was because it was against the Lucian Nami, and they're saying, hey, this time around, we banned away the Lucian, so now you don't have to deal with it. This Callista can just run amok. However, I don't like it into the Talia because of how much control she can have over the Callista. And then when you're playing into an Aphelios, definitely a lot of scaling power for the Aphelios side of the matchup. So while CFO, I like the top half, I'm not really digging this bottom half, and it's going to come down to Koala really outplaying a lot of situations.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Koala can definitely carry it, because he certainly did last time around with some of those fights. The Nautilus takeaway, and really trusting this Callista when things like Sivir, were on the board. It was an option for them to go for. I think it would have slotted in nicely to what this team comp wanted to do. All the same, we'll have to see if it works out and if CFO punch their ticket to Worlds here in 4, or will Beyond Gaming make us scrape some silver again here in the upper bracket finals. It's all on the line in this battle of the banks as we get underway.
BYG coming out with a 3-1 against J-Team, a 3-0 against DCG. And now, if they are to take this series, it would have to be in 5 games. So very stark difference from their first 2 series, really being tested by the might of CFO. CFO are simply 1 game away to going to NA.
Yeah, and CFO, for their part, they didn't have the easiest ride through this either. They had to face off after a 3-1 win over Frank Esports in the opening round. They had to beat PSG Talon, the Titans of the PCS, the squad that denied them an MSI showing. And they did it in 5 games, a back-and-forth banger of a series that I won't soon forget. Beyond Gaming, they've been crushing it against the J-Team universe. However, this is the final boss of that universe, Nightstar.
And if they lose this series, it's very possible that they have a rematch against DCG, which I am sure if DCG get back to a rematch against the side of BYG, they will have a completely different approach to the series, which did seem a little bit of an anomaly, but BYG, their success in both of those first two series was off the back of Wako. And Wako's performance in this lane phase will be of utmost priority.
I do think so. Wako, talking about Beyond Gaming and their history, right? They have relied upon him to do some serious work in this year, stepping in to fill some very big shoes left by Doggo when he departed for the LPL. Wako has more than adequately performed. This organization has found strength in their new players.
Oh, man.
I think Minji, for his part, he's had ups and downs. And you can see it on display right now as his trading not quite as good as he would have liked. But he's been pretty impactful in the wins that Beyond have found in these playoff series. And in the win they had against CFO earlier today, well, those Weaver's Walls were putting in extra work.
Those Weaver Walls will be incredibly important for them to pick off Mission and isolate Shun in these fights. Saw it time and time again in game number 2, and this time around, Busha is going to get invaded on Gemini. Busha having a bit of stare down.
Yeah, doesn't want a hard commit for this one. Steals away a couple of Krugs. Yep. Shun blocking as well, and it's just going to be a bit of an extended escort mission, but this is all farm differential. This is keeping Busha down. Now, Kino, he wanted to make a play, get a headbutt pull, and it didn't quite take, as it was a good body block from Koala. And CFO, they're just getting stranglehold on this early game.
And now we're really seeing Mission take over, because that is such an early back coming in from Minji. 3.5 minutes. Goes back, has to settle for a tier. That is a massive win in that regard. Now Mission even.
Oh, and now Gemini coming in.
Walking
Level
up.
4 dinged. Mission's out on mana at this point. That's the one saving grace. Meanwhile, up in topside, Rest pushed a little under lane by Lee Kai, who has had the better of him. He snips just a little bit.
Surprisingly, Lee Kai has had sort of the flip side advantage. Yes, it hasn't been quite the dominating fashion as Mission has had in the mid lane.
Ooh.
He has
trying to bully back. I like that.
There we go.
That's really good, actually. Husha going to turn things right back and around, and actually the pings come a-flying. They know Husha's even going to leave a chicken sitting there, and well, if he can't take his own Krugs, he's just going to take Gemini's. Rest is going to be in trouble here. Narbar, though, is coming up. Have to respect that as well, and they're going to maybe try and outlast it.
This probably won't be a dive, just because of how close he is to Narbar, and he should be able to hold on to it for a very long time. So
yeah,
the dive won't happen, but the big thing is Husha able to catch up in gold and EXP, also gets himself this top crap. So things have stabilized from the jungle role, and in fact it looks good for Husha instead, and it's going to boil down to how well Minji holds up into this mid lane. Can he get to level 6? Can he start roaming? Because right now, Mission is the one really dictating the pace of how this game's going to get played, because how much space he's occupying with his wave control.
Koala getting spotted by the Scryer's Bloom there, and looking for the counterplay into the jungle. Always sniffing for openings, but they will settle to just clear away some vision. And it does appear that the Dragon Dispenser has been reset, Nightstar, because we got a Ocean First this time around.
We did it.
We did it. It's like the vending machines. You know, you gotta jiggle them a little bit, slap them, you know, smack them, make some noise, maybe curse under your breath, and then everything works. That's how technology works, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's how old school crap works. You just gotta hit it a few times.
I don't know, man. I think it works for computers sometimes too. Full disclaimer: I am not a technical professional. I used to be. You know, that's a story for another day, though. As the dragon does get taken down, Mission actually getting shoved onto the work ground by Minji. That's a nice trade of pace. And Beyond Gaming, getting a little bit back for themselves, but they lose out on that early Drake to do it.
Yeah, and if that was the flip into tower range, that would have been a completely different story. But Right now, level 6 hit by Minji. He has the Ignite, and Husha going for the long con here.
It's a big wraparound. He doesn't have 6, though. That's
Quick,
critical. No
good
Ice
stun.
Bola. Yeah, Minji with the nice bait into the Ignite. Oh boy, Mission on the run right now as he burns his own flash. Realizes it might be a dead man, but he turns back on the Chaos Storm. And Minji, he's burning, and he stays alive through first blood for Husha.
Oh my god, Minji holds his nerve, walks away. No sweat
Minji,
on the
impossible, man. That was nice.
And BYG come out with the first blood. That's big for them. Being able to try and slow down Mission. They burn his flash. And this has been the game plan coming in from PSG and their approach. As now Husha. Oh man,
he's got 6 too.
He's talking business.
That flash.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Lord.
Man, you got to be careful with that solo bolo in the pocket. Gemini walks away, flashes before. Remember the back disadvantage as well. He hadn't actually backed away, and Husha had, which meant he had those boots with the cooldown.
Yeah, and he also has a level advantage. Whereas on the flip side, Gemini still looking for level 6. The good thing is, though, he will have his ultimate in a bit of a timing window where Husha won't have the ult to respond. And now the tension will start shifting from the side lanes back into this mid lane because of that missing flash, right? It's all about trying to kill Mission, or on the flip side, it's about CFO now pulling Koala into the mid lane to deter that extra pressure.
Yeah, that's the play for sure. We'll check back in with bot, though. It's been a lot quieter than the rest of this series so far. No kill threat, no kill pressure. The Kalista not going to do nearly as much to an Aphelios. CFO look to start off on this Herald. So far, they've had great Herald control this entire series. Near perfect, I want to say. I think but for the game that they've lost. And yeah, this is happening in Vision. They know with Scuttle Crab secured earlier on by Husha from that long wraparound top that this is going to be in sight, but they're not in danger of losing anything except, you know, by their own jungle. And I think Gemini's accepted that. His over-aggression gets a little punished, not in the form of a kill, but in the fact that Husha was able to counter-jungle him effectively.
And they're able to get the blue donated over
lots of plates
to Minji.
too.
Really, really nice. This is such a nice setup. As you can see here, it just comes down to, is X jungler able to invade? If yes, it's a completely different ball game. If no, man, it sucks. And so far, it's BYG that are able to be on the proactive end of the invade.
Gemini's going to need to make this Herald work for them if they want to get back on that, right? Because they lost out a couple of plates. They lost a lot of their own jungle for it. And he's just going to try to pick up the scraps at the moment. Also, Husha sitting around, waits immediately into the Ice Ball before that flash into the easiest shove of Minji's career. And that Chaos Storm was never going to do enough to get you back in. What a brilliant mid-jungle duo play that just came out there.
Mm-hmm. And BYG learning a trick from the PSG playbook here as they just continuously pick on Mission. But here's the thing, Mission can't opt for an early stopwatch because he's just so far behind in his item build this time around.
Exactly.
He is so far down, and for the side of BYG, this is a sore point that they're going to continue to try and exploit. Mission will have his flash up for the next go around. But it could mean that he just instantly loses the flash, and that will make contesting dragons very, very difficult for CFO moving forward, as it will be a Hex Tech dragon coming up, and if it's not Cloud, then CFO are kind of in a no bueno spot.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, at least they got that one dragon so they can cut down some stacks, but it's going to be tough to even to contest this as it spawns up. They're certainly going to look for it. And the Kalista does help in terms of actually trying to secure the objective. But with the teleport coming in from Minji, the Weaver's Wall up and available, they know this isn't going to be free anymore. The game has changed. Turret's out for Wako as well. Shin going to try and shred that one down, I should say. Nin quivers a piece. The early boots, too. They're going to try for this. Sees it.
Yep. So they have full knowledge of this. And BYG can also just give it up, too. They don't they aren't forced in a position to go for this dragon because the next one, if it ends up being a combat one, you're very happy with that result as well. And they're just buying time. Buying time. Now you have the Bola up available for Husha. They can generate a pick again. They can use the Talia wall to isolate a target. There's so many options available to BYG. And I love the fact that this time around, they early picked the Sejuani, knowing that they had more picks in Kino's pocket.
Oh, they have to pop Herald soon. Like, this just hasn't even been used by Gemini. I wouldn't be surprised if he just puts it back mid. But the Dragon's going to get started up by Beyond Gaming here. It's a slow start, not full committed. Missions around, the TP coming in from the Gnar onto tower. This is pre-14.
Minji with the wall.
Here comes that wall. Gonna split Koala from the rest of the team. The Rift Herald does get popped as they had to use this one, but Dragon on the other side, it doesn't get stolen away, though Gemini tried. And now the fight's on. Lee Kai isolated for a second, but that's some low health bars on the opposite side. They will open up by taking Lee Kai out of this one. As we look for more here, Kino going low, so is Husha, but they're not quite out just yet. The pullback in, Koala using the last of his health bar, but he is able to get it and stay alive in the boot. They'll bring Rest in with the boulders. He's able to take the cow down. That's 3 kills for none. The Dragon might go over the way of Beyond Gaming, but still CFO find the answer.
And it just comes down to the side of BYG. They ran out of resources. He ran out of mana in that fight. And all of a sudden, CFO could turn around and look for the fight because they ran out of cooldowns as well. This turret plate will go down.
Let's see it again.
See the replay. The wall comes through. It's a good wall. The only issue is, you're engaging on Squall. Look up top. That's mission. Now he isn't under pressure. He can walk up. And all he had to do was press ult. It repositions afterwards, but damage is done. You look at the mana bars left on the side of BYG. They don't have
mana bars coming.
So their staying power in the fight, unfortunately, not there. And Kino will end up eating a rock.
Yeah, he was gonna get bopped if he didn't get rocked, unfortunately. So the gold. I mean, it's gold into the Gnar pocket. It's Mission's feeling pretty good about himself as he positions in the choke, and they draw so much pressure from Koala. And that's just CFO recognizing the cooldown difference right there. Yeah, they don't get the Dragon, but hey, it's a Mountain Rift too. So they're going to get a lot harder to kill if they keep picking these up.
Mountain Rift is certainly going to be great for both of these teams. And Minji could come under fire. Big thing. Mission. Okay, this is picked.
Yep.
Everyone's coming over.
All right.
Husha has all.
Looking for it. They do get a stun off into the second Cyclone.
Kino's
but Husha
here.
is big. Is he big enough? Here comes Kino the Chaos Storm. Rest is keeping everybody else at bay right now. And
good
Husha's tanking through that, but so is Gemini right now. And even though he's got the clone out, they still resist the damage. He goes for more, looking for Kino. Looking for those health bars. Everybody's going low, but nobody was going down for way too long. Wako takes Gemini out, and Husha going to look at Rest. Meanwhile, the rest of CFO cleanup. It's an absolutely chaotic fight around the side. 3 for 3. What do you make of that one?
Oh, that was a complete mess of a situation. That's what I think of that one, Pyra. And it's going to be even trades. So, all things considered, BYG get a slight advantage because they can turn their attention over to that Rift Herald. And on the flip side, it will be Shun be able to get first tower. So, temporarily winning out on that gold trade for now is CFO. But with this extra Herald, you get the extra 200 local gold and turn into another tower to even things up. Unfortunately, they won't be able to secure the crab afterwards. So full gold isn't quite theirs. We'll see the replay. Collapse onto Minji is good.
Gets caught. This is nice.
It is good. They aren't able to one-tap him, though. So once the flash comes through, he's able to reset the fight. And then Husha goes in knowing that, hey, I've got support coming in a little bit faster. And they come in, collapse, great flick once more. The tandem of Lee Kai and Minji doing a lot of work in that fight. And unfortunately, without the burst, it just gives them a little bit more health that Wako has to come through and wipe them off the map.
That was like 2 or 3 different fights going on at the same time. It was definitely chaos for sure. But as the dust settles, though, I think one thing to note is that both Wako and Shun walked away with kills.
Yes.
So both carries a little bit accelerated in that sense, whereas Husha is the one that's been picking them up previously. And you don't really want that on the Sejuani's team by comparison. I think CFO went out just a little bit more, especially because of all the tower damage that was done earlier, first by the late Shelly pop, but then Shun finishing it off before he joins the fight. So this Kalista started to become accelerated, and it's going to be harder for Beyond to start contesting the objectives in the straight-up 5v5s. They're going to have to find those set plays if they want to get the wins.
And for BYG, at the very least, they do have a good chunk of gold into Wako. Right? Wako on this Aphelios has the potential to 1v9, especially against a Kalista, who he's going to have a big range advantage against. Unfortunately, though,
a dragon seeded away.
Yep, that is small concern. Where CFO are the ones to just walk over and secure this objective for themselves. Leads me to think BYG, they're just trying to stall out, wait for the second or third item to come through for this Aphelios. As Gemini is in a pretty sneaky position here. Thankfully,
in full vision, though, doesn't want to get denied by Kino. Yep. Might still try it. Oh, okay. Looks to bait something out there. Doesn't really lose much of a cooldown for it. And, well, the bot's pushing pretty hard as well. You got to be careful not to get collapsed on, though, CFO. Minji could be coming down.
Talia. Could be a wall position.
Has a lot of rocks to play with this game on a mountain rift. A
Oh,
lot of
there's
terrain.
a
Here it
wall.
comes. They're going to back away, though.
Great.
Ah, and they're on the right side of it, unfortunately. So that cooldown gets burned, not for a whole lot.
Fortunately, just didn't have quite the angle to seal off the avenues of retreat. Like the attempt, though. And
yeah, you gotta look for those, right? I think Minji's Talia has definitely been a treat to watch. He's always using the Weaver's Wall first to try and find something, and it's an oldie but a goodie.
Yeah, and in this particular game, TFO, with their solo lane advantage, is really trying to drive it home. 3-1 and 2 on the Gnar, has Trinity Force completed, has a 20 CS lead. Minji getting collapsed upon, teleport coming in behind him. He is most likely dead.
Flash. He's got Ghost. He used it. He tried to get the outplay, but he knew he was going to be a dead man. Shun gets gold into his pocket. Yes, the tower falls. Probably going to anyways. Nicely done, but now there's going to be a Herald play in the mid. Beyond are going to look to make something out of this. They back away.
They only get a charge. They won't be able to get the tower because of the collapse possibly coming in from the side of
CFO are so fast.
Yeah.
So fast on the map, Nightstar. Like, that does seem to be the difference. Even in the games where they're behind, CFO are always finding a play. And that's just because this team, I think they just understand the tempo they can work with at any given moment.
They've just constantly leveled up their game coming into playoffs. We saw a lot of issues during the regular split. They weren't rotating on the map effectively. They were really slow at making moves. They were really slow at asserting their leads. Those problems seem to have resolved themselves quite a bit. It's a much different CFO we're getting. We are getting that very decisive CFO where they get a lead, they come at you, and they overwhelm you. Hopefully they're able to continue to push that.
Yeah, it's what we expected in the spring split, right? Like, after we saw how they did in the playoffs and nearly took the title, as Gemini does get caught here. It's going to be the knock-up for the disengage. Maybe this turns into an answer for CFO. They do have that decisive factor, but they are on a couple different fronts here. The Narbar is about to run out. Here comes the Weaver's Wall. But everybody's on the same side of it. They've already taken down the cow. And Lee Kai, even in the Gwen Mist, is still suffering so much damage. The double kill comes in for Mission. And Rest even lives through it all. Yeah, a bit of a round of applause there as CFO is just doing work on this map, looking to extend this gold lead. They will be able to finish off the tower. Remember what's on the line. A win here is a spot in the PCS Summer Split Finals and a guaranteed ticket to Worlds.
Massive stakes on the line here for CFO. What a way to cap this split, right? Because you sponsored a league, you sponsor a team, and now you're about to sponsor a world's team on top of it. Maybe China Airline follows suit afterwards. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe we get an airline team after this one. I'd love to see that. As this all started as a catch onto Gemini, but he was able to tank through it. Rest, bit of an unfortunate pathing, but they use it to their advantage because Kino, Wako, Likai all get sucked into this. It feels like CFO, they're either the most incredible like team fight improvisers, or these guys are just giga-brained.
But BYG, they don't let up. They understand they're definitely behind here, so we need to make a coordinated play, and that is what makes BYG so good. They understand when they are behind and when they need to just try and flip or go for a riskier play.
Oh.
Likai does get spotted out, and
So
they
Gemini,
are.
but I think he knows it. Oh, the chase.
They do have 2 items completed onto the Talia. The only issue is
I think
Wako
Gemini's
is
just
so
monkeying
far
around.
behind.
Yeah, you need your Thelias to be in a much better place than this, and he's sitting on a Gale Force and a bargain bucket of swords. Unfortunately, that does mean that this Mountain Dragon hard to contest here, especially with the full Gnar bar of rest coming up, and Beyond know it. But you're right, Night Star. This is a team that recognizes when they're behind, that recognizes that they have to find movements on the map somewhere. When they found most of their wins in the regular split, they don't win out in the early game. They barely win out in the mid game. They always find a comeback. And they're not committing to a Baron flip, because that Dragon goes a little too fast with the Callista, but it's not Soul yet. It is, however, Soul Point.
At the very least, the Philios doesn't really care about the extra resistances. Yes, it's a little bit difficult for him to chew, but once he gets to those item breakpoints, he will be able to still shred these targets. The only issue and drawback is the fact that you have Talia and Gwen, a Gwen that's very far behind, mind you, and there's already a decent chunk of magic resistance stacking happening, and that will just get harder and harder for these AP-driven champions to be able to find damage in these fights because of the extra resistance building.
It is possible that some of the hubris of CFO in their lead will be their downfall. Once again, directing everyone's attention to the item builds of Mission. He goes for the Medjai's with 10 stacked Dark Seal. Does not have a stopwatch.
Does have magic resistance though.
That's true. He's got Merc Treads.
Yeah, this
and a
time
mantle.
he stopped going for the Sork Boots and gone for the Merc Treads, which I think is a great adaptation. Oh.
For the play.
Oh,
they actually find the stun off. Kino getting the knockup. Do they have the follow-up damage? Mission immediately flashing to try and get out of that one. Merc Tread certainly paying off, but do they have the fight turnaround? They take the Gwen out. Likai just not big enough here, and Wako gets popped down to 0. The fight turnaround. Gemini keeping the backline at bay, and Minji limping away as Rest looks for a boulder angle. Can't quite find it, even through the double kill. Shoves the Talia out of the wall. That's the ace. They're going for more. The death timers may not be long enough to end, but by golly, they're gonna try.
yeah, they are going to try here. As Kino will be up in 7 seconds. It will be the inhib to go down. But
all right,
even if they don't end it, look at how much of the map is just gone from the side of BYG. They are fighting a very uphill struggle at this point. They go for the flip, throw down their CC onto Mission. Because he doesn't instantly burst and instantly pop, well, that's kind of the rest of it.
Yeah, let's take a look at the start of it. It looks
Great
like a great setup, a great turnaround. That Bolo, just massive, and they get the knockup, but the rest of them are kept at bay. Kino doesn't have the damage. Likai gets isolated, and the Gwen just gets deleted. And that was it.
Yep. Just way too much damage from the side of CFO, and for Wako, he's trying to get the damage down as the Philios, unfortunately.
Oh.
And that was the
Get
cherry
off the
on
wall.
top.
Man,
That
he
was
just
the
Humpty
Talia
Dumptied
on
him.
top.
That was great. I mean, Rest has just had an absolute field day on this Gnar. I think like at least 3 out of 4 games here, he has just handled Lekai and had so much more impact. The Baron is on now. Rest is body blocking. This Gnar has been huge. You have to try and contest this, but they're not finding an opening through the choke. That's the play. Rest is going to go for something. Doesn't have a Gnar angle. There he goes. Gets Kino, gets Minji, soloing out, and CFO are flexing their might here. They are looking to shut out Beyond Gaming in 4 games.
Have they gone too far?
I don't know, but they carved themselves off a flank of beef. That's Kino out of this one. The health bars are a little bit low, and maybe there's something left in the tank for Beyond Gaming, but with those Chaos Storms brewing, you've got to be so careful. That's going to be the end of the push for now, but I don't think Rest got the memo.
Rest is by himself. Hello?
He's the BM king. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about what's going on, the logic of the game. He's unkillable. He's a 5-1 Gnar Nightstar. It's a force of nature, and he's got one.
He's an absolute force of nature, and you know what he has by his side? CFO, but also a 25-stack Medjai's on his mid lane.
Mission. Oh man, I mean that thing paid off for itself. It was almost full stacked up to that last. He buys the Banshee's Veil out now, and yeah, let this always be a lesson. Build some defense, build some MR. Husha popping back into. Oh my goodness, Rest is drawing 3. He Gnars. I think he's gonna live in time for CFO to get through here, and
they just don't have damage here with now the collapse.
This is it. This is it. Benji's going for it. Yeah, Husha just drops before it even begins proper, and now it's just gonna look for cleanup as Koala gets jumped on, but it doesn't really matter. Mission getting a godlike kill for himself, and it is all about the end for CFO. There's nothing Beyond Gaming can do as they just say, screw the towers, we want the base. Cleaning Minji up, looking for Lekai as he heads himself to the fountain, but can't even make it in time. That's the ace. They move themselves on to inhibitors, and 28 minutes is the game timer. 28.5 is the time of death, and CFO, with that fight, punched their ticket to the 2022 World Championships.
Welcome to World, CFO, because that was a statement game to do so.
Wow. Wow. That's all we can say. High fives all around, and you know, they missed out on MSI, but in their first year in these jerseys, CFO, a team chock full of veteran talent, and one high-flying rookie. You best not forget him. His name is Shun, and he's coming for everybody at Worlds.
And you better not doubt the might on top and down of the roster, because Rest put on an absolute clinic this series. Mission as well, really dominating the lane phase, but Rest, when it came to these team fights, constantly, just ignore the Ornn pick, but constantly was just tooling everyone else on the side of BYG. It was in their face, trouncing them, throwing out the CC, throwing out the damage.
They were behind early. This was starting to look like a game that was going to flip back around in favor. We were questioning when Mission was getting shut down in the lane phase. You know, is this going to be a tilt Mission game? Well, he wises up. He builds the Merc Treads. He gets himself out of insta-burst range, and all of a sudden he gets a couple more kills. Yeah, he gets his confidence, gets his swagger back. Man. And the Callista paid off huge in the contests. The fact that they were able to funnel Golden Shun. It's not the same explosive pop-off team fight, but it didn't have to be. Rest was massive. And for all of these veteran players on the CFO side, getting a berth at Worlds, a chance at that title, representing the PCS, whether it is the first or second seed, we'll have to see what the results of the finals are. But Nightstar, these players, for many of them, they haven't been in 2 or 3 years in the case of Rest. Back when it was J-Team and the LMS he was representing. These other players for Gemini, for Mission, for Koala, well, they were Machi Esports back in 2020. And they're going to get a shot once again at the Summoners Cup. And man, for Shun, I can't think of a better rookie to be making an appearance there. Obviously, we still got a finals left to play. I don't know if this is going to be a play-ins team or a main team, but they have certainly made a statement here today. And whew, it's good to see.
Once more, we send our hotshot rookie 80 carries straight to Worlds, baby.
Yeah, we do. Oh, here's the question: Is Shun better than Doggo? I have to ask that.
Ooh, that's a tough question. And
do you take 2021 Doggo or 2022 Shun?
You probably take Doggo because he did go to MSI.
That's true, he did. I mean, CFO were so close to doing it.
It was on an asterisk,
so close,
right? But it was still, he has international experience, which is going to,
it still counts.
Go a long way, right? When he goes to Worlds. So this time around, I would, yes, Shun not quite there because he's going to be a little bit fresh, especially knowing that, hey, CFO, when they go to Worlds, this will be the first time that they participate against a live audience. So that will be a new experience for them.
It's really going to be big, but they have to get through the next series as well. And we don't know who they're going to face yet. It very well could be a rematch against Mega Bank Beyond Gaming. The Battle of the Banks certainly delivered in 4 games, but CFO, they absolutely trounced in their victories. No shade to Beyond Gaming. I think there is still a lot to learn for this team. They will now fall into the lower bracket to play off against the winner of PSG Talon and Deep Cross Gaming. And I think no matter who it is, that's going to be exciting too, because yeah, either we get the Deep Cross rematch, Nightstar, or we get PSG Talon facing off against them, and that has already proven to be quite a legendary matchup over the last couple of years. So our Final Four in the PCS is certainly shaping up to be something to behold. But for CFO, as our first finalist, as a first qualifier to the World Championships, this team has had a heck of a journey, and I'm so glad to see them in the form they are. Let's take a look at some examples of that in this big play.
In this mid lane, Husha, still, I would say, a very clear big performer for the side of BYG. And it really shows you how much they depend on this man to have a good game, right? Because in the other 2 losses, he was shut out completely. And it was finally this last game where CFO seemed to have solved the problem. Even if he's able to find his own plays, they were able to execute around those regardless.
Yeah, that was massive. And at this point, the game seemed like it was pretty much over. You were looking for last-ditch plays and rest. Well, when he's in a pop-off situation, he does things like this. He just gets way up in your face. They know they can't kill him, or at least he knows they can't kill him. And he buys enough time for the rest of the team to just collapse, and this is where they just straight up ended it. I mean, brilliant play.
And this is what I hope to see from them on the world stage, is that when they do get advantages against some of these perhaps better teams, you know, like your LCK or LPL squads, I hope when they get those advantages, they continue to play with that swagger, because that will be how they do damage at Worlds.
Yeah, CFO are not a team to give up on a lead. They may potentially get outplayed by opponents with the superior macro sense, but keep in mind, this is a team that's managed to upend PSG Talon, who for such a long time were our macro kings of the PCS. Yes, they've made some changes to their roster. I do think, though, that overall it's been a significant upgrade for PSG. I don't know how CFO are going to perform at the World Championships, but if it looks like this series, if the finals looks like this series, oh boy, they are going to be a little terrifying. And yeah, there is a lot of veteran presence to coalesce around Shun, and you saw it on full display here. Years and years of experience and a dominating performance in this final game after the first 10 land CFO into the grand finals of the PCS to await whichever team joins them there.
Look at the damage output coming in from those solo laners on the side of CFO.
You talked about it. This was something beyond we're going to have to handle today, and they couldn't.
Yep, unfortunately they fell short. BYG, I still like how they play as a team. It's very much about finding the 5-man play rather than the individual plays. You even saw Likai on the Fiora coming in for team fights, which is usually not how you play the Fiora. But Rest, clear MVP vote. He was just absolute machine towards the end of the game, dipping and weaving and using that Mega Gnar to great effect.
Yeah, you can see him pointing to the big brain. Well, he certainly had one and knew exactly how to press the buttons at which time. It's not just hands diff. I think this team definitely had a bit of a mental diff just a lot of things going their way, and they knew how to lead the game to its conclusion. Once they got themselves ahead on the board, CFO are just so dominating at that. A fantastic performance for them. A congratulations on the 3-1 victory to move into the finals to guarantee themselves a shot at the World Championships. And we'll have to see if they're going to be our first or second seed, and what any of our other remaining teams will have to say about that, Nightstar.
Yeah, and we'll see what the side of CFO have to say about who they think they will play in the finals. That's definitely something to look out.
It's coming up. A little bit of a preview for things ahead. I am hearing that we are going to be having an interview with Koala right after this, but we'll have to see. So stick around. You won't want to miss it. Oh, we're not ready yet. We're going to take a little more time. We could talk about CFO more, Nightstar. So, yeah, like, okay, well, that's it, actually. Now we're ready. We're going to have an interview with Koala. We'll see you in a few.
Got me open. Take my heart as a set. You can choose my kind of falling. Spell unspoken. Lift me up, bring me down. It's not begging, it's a crawling. Cause it's the way you move, like heaven seen, but it's a real webs all around me. And you call me. The things you say, and I'm in veins. And all I play, webs all around me. And you call me, and you won't let go. Webs all around me. And you call me. The things I say, and I'm in veins. And all I play, webs all around me. And you call me, and you won't let go. Wings are broken. Take my feet, I can move, lost my will without a warning. This is like a curse, and it's getting worse. Words stuck in my head, they go on and on and on.
欢迎来到赛后采访，我是主持人励志。首先恭喜 CFO 拿下今天本场比赛的胜利。Hey guys, I'm Very Drew and welcome to the post-match winner interview. Today we have CFO's MVP Amumu support. Koala, can you introduce yourself, please? 那今天邀请到辅助位的 MVP 阿姆姆无尾熊来到采访席，先跟大家打个招呼吧。
好，我是 CFO 的辅助 Koala。
So firstly, of course, huge congratulations on today's win. With this victory, the team is guaranteed to go to Worlds. Has that sunk in yet? And how do you feel? 那首先当然要恭喜 CFO 获得了 PCS 赛区的第1张世界赛门票。现在的感受如何呢？然后觉得今天的表现怎样？
就现在就非常开心嘛，至少，去年也没出国嘛，然后就现在获得就是第1张门票，然后就非常开心，然后也觉得今天的表现自己的话还非常满意吧，因为至少今天的操作都还不错。
So he said that, of course, they're super happy. He's personally super happy, especially because last year he personally wasn't able to make it out of the country to an international competition. So the fact that they've at least right now secured an international competition and Worlds for themselves, he's very happy. As for today's performance, he thinks that he's actually extremely satisfied with his own personal performance. He thinks that he did well today, and he also thinks that his mechanics today were on point. So the next question is about, as you mentioned, you didn't make it to Worlds last year. Also, CFO as a squad just narrowly missed out on MSI after the spring split finals. So making it to Worlds, is this something that the team as a whole has been anticipating since spring? 那这会是 CFO 第一次出国参加国际比赛，就是自从春季赛错过了 MSI 的那时到现在，就是 CFO 整体来说有没有很期待吗？然后赛前大家有没有什么信心喊话呢？
就战队伍的话，就是一直很希望就是我们拿到门票嘛，然后 因为春季的时候就是那场 BO5打那个 PSG，就是大家就非常的多的 fail，所以导致我们就是错过了 SM 票。但是因为有了那次教训之后，我们就是每次打 BO5的时候都非常的谨慎这样。然后我们赛前的话，基本上就是照着前几次打 BO 的状态吧，然后就是也没有特别信心喊话这样。
So he said that for today, the team just kind of did what they usually did before every other best of five series in playoffs, and they didn't like especially have any type of like encouraging things that they told each other today. They treated it as a normal best of five series. And ever since spring split, the team has, of course, just like everyone on their staff as well, has really been hoping that CFO would be able to make it to Worlds in the summer, especially because the spring split loss for them, it was in a best of five series. But he thinks that after they lost to PSG in that BO5, that the team was able to learn that lesson. And ever since then, every single best of five series they've played, they've always been very focused and they've always been able to play that well. So the next question I have is about today's series. Games 1 and 3 especially were pretty much shutouts from CFO. You were more than 10,000 goal to hit. But what went wrong in game number 2? 那虽然说今天的系列比数是3-1，但第三局 CFO 是以非常大的优势拿下那几局。那想问一下，就是第二局是出了什么问题呢？
第二局就是前期没有拿到我们阵容该拿到的优势，然后就是可能太着急了，然后导致就是中期就非常的难玩，然后前面有很多的废哦。对，
So he said that in game number 2, the team just wasn't able to play out the advantages of the composition that they had drafted in picks and bans. He said that especially in the early game, they made a bunch of mistakes. They made a couple of fails here and there, and that made the middle game a lot harder for them to play. So my next question is about the draft phase. Today, CFO, you picked the lesser seen Draven plus Amumu combination. So why did you guys pick this? And also playing Amumu, especially since you bagged that support today, is there anything that we need to look out for playing this champion or maybe even playing the Amumu Draven lane? 那今天 CFO 是选择了偏少见的大瑞文配上阿姆姆的下路组合，能够说一下 CFO 是为什么会选择这样的战术呢？以及玩辅助阿姆姆或者说阿姆姆配上大瑞文是需要注意的点是什么呢？
达伦佩亚木就是前期会非常有优势，然后因为 BIG 蛮喜欢就是前期优势碰撞的，然后我们就选择这样组合，就是跟对面前期碰撞，因为他们前期没有优势的话，他们中期的营运会导致就是做的比较不好，对吧？然后我们只要有前期优势，就可以就是非常的容易赢过他们。然后玩阿木的话，可能就是要非常注意就是开战时机吧，因为那角色真的蛮容易送头的，因为团练的时候我也很常送。
He said that the important point to note about playing a Moo is that on playing this champ, it's really easy to feed. He said that he personally, it's happened before in scrims where he personally has fed a couple of kills to the enemy team because he says you need to take note about when you want to start those skirmishes and when you want to start the fights. He said as for why CFO decided to pick the Amumu and the Draven Amumu today, it's because Draven Amumu is a very strong lane. It's also very strong early, and he thinks that BYG's bottom lane is a lane that always wants to fight hit to hit in order to get those little advantages in lane. So he said what CFO decided to do is to go for the hit to hit fight, pick the Draven Amumu, and then win early on. And he says then it's a lot easier to play versus BYG because BYG are a team that if they don't have the lead going into the mid game, then they tend to struggle. So the next question I want to ask is about the Draven priority for CFO as well, especially that we saw today. Your team places a pretty big emphasis on the Draven in draft phase. Can you tell us why? 那呈上题就是 CFO 在1、3把都选择亮出了大瑞文，然后这支英雄似乎对你们而言顺位相当的高，可以分享一下为什么吗？
今天的话，就是因为 BYG 选角就是可能都是西维尔啊、杰利之类的，但是达瑞文就是非常就是 counter 这些，就是他们的选角吧。所以只要亮了这几只，只要亮达瑞文了之后，他们就非常的就是难选择自己的 AD 角色。
So he said that BYG, especially the way they were drafting today, they tend to play a lot of Sivir as well as Zeri on the current patch. So Draven is a champion that counters the Sivir and Zeri compositions, and he said that versus a team like BYG, once they hover and once they pick the Draven, it becomes very difficult for BYG to then try and counter pick the AD carry. So we saw CFO's mic check because your team released that video yesterday for playoffs. And in comparison to some other teams, CFO actually doesn't talk a lot during comms, and you guys tend to be very calm during the team fights. So is this because the team have practiced so much with each other already that you know instinctively what everyone's going to do, or what's going on? So，看到昨天 CFO 放出的 mic check，就是跟其他 PCS 的战队相比来说，CFO 的选手其实沟通的比较少，然后打团的时候也非常冷静。想问，就是这是因为大家已经磨合到话不需要多说就已经知道彼此的思考吗？还是怎样呢？
因为我们队伍年纪比较大，所以打会战的时候如果讲太多话，可能会导致就是下一波会战会比较累这样，然后也会导致可能 BO5就是可能打你1、2、3场打完之后，可能4、5场就打不下去，所以我们就尽量减少沟通这样，然后你看，因为你自己看，就是我们 AD 就是小顺嘛，然后他们年纪比较就是轻啊，所以他就是会战的时候他特别多话这样。
So he said that he thinks it's because the players on his team are old. And he said if during the team fights and skirmishes, if the team comes a lot, then during the next fight, all the players will kind of feel very tired. They'll feel very mentally tired because they were talking so much before. And especially in a best of 5 series, if they were commsing a lot in game 1 and game 2, then they would feel very tired for the following games and they might not be able to finish playing out all 5 games. He also said that, so if you look, for example, at Shun during their mic checks, because Shun is the youngest member on the team, he tends to talk a lot more during the team fights because of his youth. So the casters, analysts, and also players that we talked to last week said that the top teams in PCS this season are very close in terms of skill. So do you think CFO is the top team in PCS right now, or do you think there's another team that can challenge you? 那直播赛评以及采访过的选手，大家都认为这季就是 PCS 前段班的战队实力都非常接近。那 Koala 会认为 CFO 是现在 PCS 的最强队伍吗？或者说哪一支战队能够挑战 CFO 呢？
因为现在是前2嘛，等我拿到冠军的时候，我就会觉得 CF 就是最强的队伍。然后现在哪一队能够挑战我们？我觉得 PS 就 BYG 吧，因为毕竟他们的战术执行还是比较好的。
So he said that right now they're still only top 2. So he's going to wait until they win Summer Split Finals before he can decisively say that CFO is the top team in the PCS. As for which team might rival CFO this time around, he says possibly it's going to be between PSG or BYG just because the way that they prepare for the game just seems to be better. So who do you personally think is going to be your opponent on Sunday? 那周日决赛的对手，你认为会是哪一支战队呢？
我个人也比较喜欢 BYG 吧，对啊，就我觉得应该会是 BYG 跟我们打决赛。
嗯，那这对于 CFO 对于周日的准备方面来说，会有什么样的不同吗？
就如果是打 BYG，就照着今天这样打，应该就是没什么问题，对吧？
So he thinks that team that they'll probably face off against in finals on Sunday will probably be BYG. He said personally he also would prefer to go up versus BYG. He thinks that CFO don't really need to prepare anything too special if they face up against BYG again. He thinks that if CFO just play the way that they've been playing lately in playoffs, then they should be able to take that. So my last question that I have for you is then which other team in PCS do you hope will make it to Worlds with you? Which team do you want to share that experience with? 那第二个问题就是 Koala 个人会期待哪一支队伍跟你们一起出国呢？
跟刚刚一样嘛，就 BYG 吧，对吧？然后或者是 DCG 啊，因为这两个都是我比较有认识的朋友，所以会想跟朋友一起出国这样。
So he said that, like you said earlier, BYG, but also maybe DCG because he thinks that personally he just has closer relationships with some of the BYG and DCG players, and he's got some friends on those teams. All right, thank you so much, Koala, for the interview, and we'll see you in Sunday's final. 好的，那非常感谢吴伟雄接受今天的赛后采访，祝 CFO 在周日的决赛中加油，拜拜。
Thank you very much, Ririchu, and always great to hear from Koala. I loved that his explanation for them wanting to finish things fast is because they're old and they want to like go to bed early, I guess. Maybe that's why they want to play Beyond Gaming, Nightstar, because you know what old people love? Reruns. They get to watch it all over again, you know? I should know. I am also an old caster at this point.
But it also saves you a lot of prep work.
Exactly. They can use the same playbook again. All the same, great to hear Koala in good spirits about everything. I mean, that was a series I think you can be pretty proud of. You can still, you know, take from some of the some information from the loss they had, but only dropping one map, and even in that loss, still finding some ways back into the game. I think that BC Flying Oyster have been ramping up all split long, and it continues. I guarantee this isn't even their final form.
They peaked at the right time, and hopefully they're able to finish the job this time around, because they did fall just short in spring playoffs, and I know that they want to cap it off with the championship trophy instead of settling for group play-in stage.
Well, let's see how the remaining matches are going to be placed to find out who will be their opponent on the 4th on Sunday. We start out tomorrow about between PSG and Deep Cross Gaming, elimination match to see who moves forward, and well, they'll be facing off against Megabank Beyond Gaming after all of that, and the winner after that game on Saturday will be in the finals and be our second Worlds contender. And then the PCS will conclude. It has been an absolute banger of a playoffs. It's been an absolute pleasure. Great casting with you, Mr. Nightstar. This has been one heck of a playoff series and one heck of a playoff season so far.
Absolutely, and just considering our last three teams who will make the finals. Of course, Koala said that he thinks BYG will make it in. And honestly, they have a great matchup into both of the teams that will play tomorrow against PSG. Right. You know, this is BYG can out teamfight them. We saw it at, you know, the last stage in the first game of the split between the two, where it was PSG winning until they lost the last team fight and the game was over. So, you know, BYG can do it against both of these teams, because against DCG, they just 3-0'd them.
Absolutely. There's always a chance to come back. You can never doubt it. But for now, CFO await whoever it is in the finals for our next couple of series. But that's going to be it for us today. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow as the PCS playoffs continue.